and you've got a lot to break down in regards to LeBron James as he continues his series against the Boston Celtics. Big-time performance in Game 3. How important was that, Harris?
It was huge not only for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I think for LeBron's future just in general for Cleveland. I think he saw that this team still does have potential to beat and really, frankly, crush high-quality opponents. I mean, I think through the first 2 games of the series, and remember, this is the Boston Celtics who have been one of the best home team, or frankly have been the best home team for the entire playoffs so far. They haven't lost a single home game. So now if you're LeBron in Cleveland, they're coming into your house Game 3, couple days of rest. You know, obviously the Celtics were coming in playing, you know, an exciting high-energy series with the 76ers. The Cavs swept the Raptors. So the rest differences were, I think, a huge deal and weren't talked about enough. So now even rest going into Game 3, and the Cavs just blew them out. I mean, that was also a game for the Celtics where you desperately needed Kyrie Irving or Gordon Hayward to take over. I mean, it was pretty obvious.
So that was the game when finally Boston missed Kyrie.
Exactly. That was the game where you saw, okay, that's why you trade for Kyrie Irving. That's why you signed Gordon Hayward to a max contract. Because when you walk into Cleveland and you have to take down the King up 2-0 in Cleveland, like, that's the game where you need stars. And LeBron just kind of showed them and the rest of those young kids, look, you are not ready for this in Cleveland. The Celtics might win this series by winning 4 games at home, but I'd be very surprised if they were able to pull one out in Cleveland. We'll see what happens tonight. But from a LeBron standpoint, I mean, he shot the ball 12 times and had 12 assists. I mean, he's still 27 points. It's amazing. Like, that was the game that I think he wanted to have, where it was his teammates that really won the game, not just him, and he showed up in a big way.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about post-playoffs here. LeBron has his 3 needs for his next team. And Harris, family comfort, championships, post-career endeavors, it all makes sense to me.
It does, and that's what it comes down to. This is coming from multiple different sources. The Ringer's Kevin O'Connor broke this on one of his podcasts, and this has kind of been spread out through the NBA interwebs. But this is what it's going to come down to for LeBron. How comfortable is his family going to be in that city? Can he realistically win championships here? And his post-career endeavors as well. We've known for a long time that LeBron James wants to get more involved in film and entertainment. Obviously, he was in the movie Trainwreck, which, by the way, he was fantastic and he was quite funny. It was great to see, you know, him really put the personality on stage. But I think for LeBron, obviously winning championships means a lot. But he's also 33, and we know that the business side of his career is almost just as important as the basketball to him at this point. I think a lot of factors come into play, but there's also a possibility that we're going into a very interesting part of LeBron's career where he doesn't sign a long-term contract anywhere, and he's simply not I don't want to call it ring hunting, but that's basically what he'd be doing. There's been talks that he might kind of turn into a sort of NBA mercenary where he just kind of jumps around to the team that he thinks could have the best chance of beating the Warriors that year. So maybe next year it's the Rockets. Maybe the year after that it's the Lakers if they get Kawhi in 2019 and he goes somewhere else on a 1-year deal. So there are a lot of different places that he could go for next season, but I would be surprised if we see him sign a contract that's more than 2 years. I think LeBron is going to try to keep his options open throughout the rest of his career and really try to go to a couple different teams.
The Lakers make a lot of sense here, Harris, but that kind of goes against this next rumor here.
It just never really makes sense for next year. It makes sense for like 2 years or 3 years, but for next year, I just can't see it yet.
So here's the deal. The Lakers may want Kawhi over LeBron. That's the buzz?
It is the buzz, and it comes down to what is going to happen with Kawhi and the Spurs this summer. I mean, again, Kawhi could sign a supermax with the Spurs, get $200+ million, and this could all be a load of baloney. But at the same time, the Lakers know if that Kawhi goes to free agency in 2019, that they have the best chance of getting him. He's a Los Angeles native. He grew up a Lakers fan. And there have been rumors that he wants to head back home and play in Southern California. But if you're the Lakers, you can argue that Kawhi is a better decision. I mean, he's younger. He obviously has more years left in his NBA career. He fits more to the long-term plan of the Lakers, along with Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma and the rest of the young pieces that they have. It kind of keeps their timeline set where they aren't trying to win next season, and it can kind of, stretch out through the rest of Kawhi's career. But with LeBron, again, the Lakers take a huge risk by signing him next year. Because what happens if they sign him, they just aren't a championship contender next year? Well, if he only signs a 1 to 2 year deal with the player option in year 2, he's gone. He's not going to come back, and all of a sudden, I don't want to say you've wasted a year, but you've certainly hurt Brandon Ingram's progression for that year, and you've hurt a lot of your other young pieces as well. So if you're the Lakers and you have the possibility of going Paul George in year 1, you know he just wants to be there long term. It doesn't matter if they win a championship next year. You can get Paul George year 1. You save your money. Maybe you give it out to a Tyreek Evans or a couple other veteran players that you can flip at the deadline for some future assets. And then 2019, you still have that max slot to give to Kawhi. Maybe it is a better idea than signing LeBron and Paul George in one offseason. I still don't think with LeBron and Paul George that you're better than the Golden State Warriors.
I don't think so either.
This Rockets team is the best team that the Warriors have faced in the West in a half a decade, and they're just not good enough to beat the Warriors. Is a team with LeBron, Paul George, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and a sixth man and Brandon Ingram good enough to beat the Warriors? I don't think so, and I think that the Lakers know that too. But as a team in 2 years with a third-year Lonzo Ball, a third-year Kyle Kuzma, a year of Paul George under your belt, and then you add Kawhi Leonard, a fully healthy Kawhi Leonard, mind you, I think at that point you have a much, much better chance of actually taking down the Warriors. But with LeBron and Paul George next year, I just don't know if the young players are ready yet.